This is such a fun episode to record because I feel like this is a topic I could talk about for days. Hey, special educators, it's Jennifer from Positively Learning. We are in a quick podcast mini-series I like to call Here's Exactly What You Need. I'm telling you exactly what you need on the topics that really matter. And I made up this series because it's what I would have really loved. It's no fluff, no frills. So if you are here for it, stay tuned. Hey, special educators, I'm Jennifer from Positively Learning. Welcome to the Special Educators Resource Room. If you're like me, you're always looking for ways to save time and streamline your work. That's why this podcast was created, to give you the systems and solutions you need to get your time back. Tune in for tips, tricks, and tools that will help you manage your workload and make the most of your time. Whether you're brand new or experienced, all are welcome in the Special Educators Resource Room. This is the second episode in this mini-series. Last week, we talked about what you need for paraprofessionals. 3 items that you need as a special educator to prepare to work with other adults, and 3 items that would support paraprofessionals in the classroom. Today's episode is all about data collection. There are so many options out there, so I'm going to give you some cautionary tales, things I've tried that didn't work, and I will also tell you exactly what you need. What we're not going to be discussing in this episode is whether you're using digital or paper-based tools. I've already done an entire episode on that, and it is really worth listening to because I give you lots of things to consider when choosing one or the other or a combination of both. You definitely want to listen to episode 2, way back when in this podcast. Episode 2 is called Data Collection, Team Paper or Team Digital. I'll link it in the show notes. What I want to talk about in this episode is which data sheets you really need because there are so many options out there. One of the biggest mistakes I made, not just once, but several years in a row, was I prepared a huge data binder. I spent a lot of time researching different data sheets, choosing the ones I knew would really benefit me in the classroom, and I would make these extensive binders. These binders had lots of options and lots of pages. If I may say so myself, they were a thing of beauty. Did I ever use these binders? Not really. I ended up always grabbing the same sheet over and over again because who has time to flip pages? Or worse, I would just grab the back of a worksheet, the back of a lesson plan, the back of a nurse pad, a sticky note, and I would quickly jot down data that I would later transfer to either a digital system or paper-based. All that time I had spent setting up the data binder was pretty much a waste of time. And who has time for that? So let's take a less is more approach so that you can find the right data sheet for you and find it quickly. The very first data sheet that you need in your toolkit is some type of behavior observation form. You may want to have 2, one that is very open-ended and one that is pre-populated. I would choose an open-ended first because I found that most often when I was doing observations, it was with students I did not know well. I wasn't doing too many observations on students on my caseload because I was seeing them and working with them every single day. I found that when I did observations with students I did not know that well, I was always writing down everything. So if I have an open-ended form, I could write a lot more without even looking down on my paper. If it's pre-populated, which is supposed to be time-saving and it's a wonderful idea, I find that I have to keep looking down to find where to put my checkbox or where to circle. So I would prefer a open-ended, but that's my personal preference. The second type of data form I highly recommend having in your toolkit is an ABC recording form. This is A for antecedent, B for behavior, C for consequence, and often you might see B for behavior after the consequence. This could also be an open-ended or a pre-populated form, and I'm going to completely contradict myself and tell you I like a pre-populated form for an ABC data recording. That's just my personal preference. The next type of form is the one that I used over and over again. Some type of on-task, off-task tracking form, most likely a frequency tracker. This is where you might be doing an interval and you're looking for a behavior and you're just quickly marking a tally mark as that behavior occurs. Quick recap of what we've gone through so far. I highly recommend finding a behavior observation form that you can use, an ABC data recording form, and some type of frequency tracker. Now I want to switch gears and talk about checklists, rubrics, and some type of diagnostic assessment. This type of data collection form will most likely be specific to students you're working with. Maybe it comes from your school. Maybe it comes from a curriculum that you use. I usually used two different kinds. One was a baseline assessment, and it was pretty basic for K through 2. It was an opportunity for me just to do a general holistic observation, get to know the student. Maybe I have them write their name or do some letter ID or number ID or counting. You may need something that is more academic focused or maybe more life skills. I have a set of 42 basic skills checklists, and they are a great reference tool to have. You might want to grab one and do one at the beginning of the school year or when you first meet a student. And then there's room on these checklists to have repeat assessments each quarter. What other type of data forms do you need? You definitely want to have some type of goal tracking or progress monitoring sheet. I prefer to have everything on one page for a student, so I'm going to be looking for a data form that goes horizontal or vertical where I can mark progress over time. That way I can see it all together. I don't tend to take a lot of anecdotal notes on this type of page, but maybe you do. If you have a set of data tracking forms, just know you don't have to use all of them. It's nice to have a set so that you can pick and choose the ones that work for you. So if you're looking at 50 different data forms, resist the urge to hit print. Instead, go through them, try out a couple, and when you find that one that you like, make copies. We're only 7 minutes into this episode and I'm ready to wrap it up. What type of data forms do you absolutely need? I highly recommend a behavior observation form, an ABC data recording form, some type of frequency tracker for on-task and off-task behaviors, some checklists or diagnostic assessments, especially to take baseline data, and then some type of progress monitoring or goal tracking. There are so many other data forms out there, and they are definitely nice to have, but in my opinion, you don't need to have them unless it's for a very specific situation. You don't want to be me and have a data binder that collects dust throughout the year. In the show notes, I'm going to put a link to a page on my website called Data Collection Tips for Special Educators. You're going to see a list of everything we've talked about in this episode. I also have a link to a bundle where I put all of them together in one spot. There's a few other nice to haves in this bundle, like student data tracking pages and sticky notes. I wanted to include those because they're really popular, people like them, but you must promise that you'll stay strong and get the basics out of the bundle first before you add those. I'll be back next week with the next episode in the series, and it probably was the topic we should have started the series with. It's all about your special educator binder or your toolkit, those everyday organizational tools that we rely on. So if paperwork is on your list of things to tackle, you absolutely want to listen to the next episode. Until then, have a fantastic week. Check out the show notes, and I'll catch you next time in the Special Educators Resource Room. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'm dying to ask, what'd you think? Be sure to hit the follow or subscribe buttons so that you never miss an episode. You can find the show notes and links for everything mentioned in this episode at positivelylearningblog.com. See you next week for more special education solutions.